All right, so today we're going to deep dive into this chapter from a memoir. And it's a pretty wild one.
Yeah.
Basically, we've got a high school senior. They're about to have these like seriously life-changing surgeries, right? But first, they've got to go through this mandatory medical test, standard procedure.
Right. Sounds routine enough.
Exactly. But get this, the results like totally throw a wrench in everything. Like nobody saw this coming.
Yeah, it really flips the script on what the medical team was expecting. So we're dealing with the aftermath of Waterhouse-Friderichsen syndrome here,
Ah, Waterhouse-Friderichsen.
which absolutely slams the adrenal glands.
The adrenal gland. See, I was doing a little reading on this, and it's not just about that whole fight or flight thing. We're talking about hormones like cortisol. That's the one that affects how your body uses energy, right?
Absolutely.
And then there's aldosterone, which is like super important for blood pressure. It's all pretty vital stuff, especially when you're considering major surgery.
Oh, absolutely. You have to have that imbalance. And in this case, because of this syndrome, the author had been relying on steroids to prop up their adrenal function.
Okay, so steroids.
But steroids can really mess with healing. So there's a heightened risk during and after surgery. Figuring out if the author's adrenal glands were ready to go it alone was the whole point.
I see. So it was like a make or break kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So, okay. To get this information, we're talking a whole week in the hospital, right? Blood tests like every few hours. Strict diet, no meds. I mean, that sounds intense.
Oh, it's grueling.
Yeah.
You'd expect someone in that situation to be just completely drained. But the author says they felt surprisingly good throughout the whole thing.
Really?
Yeah. Good energy levels.
Huh. Okay, well, hold on. Before we get to what happens next, I gotta say this whole adrenal gland thing really makes you think about how everything's connected. Like, we tend to focus on just the one problem, but every system's playing a part here.
It's all a delicate web, for sure.
Yeah.
And the test results, well, they tossed in a major curveball.
Right, so spill it. What did they find?
No steroids. Like zero. Nada. No trace of the synthetic ones they'd been taking. Not even naturally produced steroids.
Wow.
But here's the kicker. They weren't experiencing any of those nasty adrenal insufficiency symptoms the doctors were expecting.
Wait, so their body was basically like, adrenal glands, who needs them? That's nuts.
Right. It really throws into question what we actually know about how the human body works.
You got that right. I mean, we have all these models and expectations, and then someone like this just throws it all out the window.
Like a total outlier.
So how'd the doctors take it, this whole medical mystery thing?
Well, they were baffled. Understandably so.
Yeah.
So in light of that, they recommended the author just stay on the steroids indefinitely.
Really?
Yeah, it was a purely precautionary measure.
I mean, I can see why they'd err on the side of caution, but for the author, that's got to be frustrating, right? Like, you need these meds maybe forever, but we don't really know why.
It definitely highlights the tension between best practices and the patient's experience. Doctors are trained to follow protocol and minimize risk, but patients deserve to understand their treatment.
Right. And to push back if something doesn't feel right.
Exactly.
And that's what the author does, right? They don't just blindly accept this forever steroid situation.
Right. They agree to keep taking the medication for now, but they make it clear they're going to revisit it later. They were not about unnecessary medication, especially without a solid reason.
Good for them. That takes guts.
Oh, absolutely. It speaks to a growing awareness about the downsides of long-term steroid use and the importance of patient autonomy in these decisions.
So they're not just taking orders.
Oh,
So what happens next? Do they just stay on steroids forever?
oh, no, not at all. Fast forward a few months, and they decide to take charge. They schedule an appointment with their doctor with one goal in mind: ditch the steroids.
Whoa, okay. So I'm guessing this wasn't a casual, hey, doc, I think I'm done with these pills conversation.
No. This was strategic. They'd clearly thought through the potential risks and everything. And to the doctor's credit, they were open to exploring other options.
Sounds like they had a good doctor-patient relationship.
It was a good one. They valued communication and making decisions together.
That's huge. So what did they decide?
They came up with a plan to gradually reduce the dosage, with close monitoring, of course.
Smart. So the author was really involved in the process.
Oh, yeah. Diligently reporting back on their progress and how they were feeling.
That's great. It reminds me of how important patient-centered care is becoming. So how did this plan work out?
Remarkably well. No negative side effects as they weaned off. Their body just hummed along perfectly fine without the medication.
Huh. So that just makes the whole initial diagnosis and the steroid thing even weirder?
It deepens the mystery for sure.
Okay, so they're off steroids, seemingly doing great, but what about those surgeries? Weren't the doctors worried about adrenal insufficiency and all that?
You're right, they were. The surgeon had some serious reservations about the potential risks, but after seeing the test results and the author's success getting off the steroids, they were on board.
So they were really looking at the individual, not just the protocol.
Exactly. It's this move towards personalized care,
Yeah,
you know, tailoring treatment to the specific patient.
I like that. So in a way, the author pushing to get off the steroids actually helped things move forward.
It's funny how that works out sometimes, right?
Yeah, it shows that being proactive can have unexpected benefits.
Absolutely. But before we jump into the surgeries themselves, let's take stock of what we've got.
Yeah, okay. So we've got a rare condition, confusing test results, a patient who stands up for themselves, and a surgeon who's willing to adapt. It's like a medical drama.
That's a good one.
And it makes you think about the limits of what we know about medicine and how powerful it can be for patients to advocate for themselves.
And about the amazing ability of the human body to heal and adapt in ways we don't always expect.
That's a good point. It's a reminder that even when things are uncertain, there's always hope and potential for good outcomes.
Absolutely.
But man, I am dying to hear about those surgeries.
Well, stay tuned, because in the next part of our deep dive, we're going to explore exactly that and the huge impact they had on the author's life.
So the surgeon says, let's do this. The surgeries are on. And I mean, this is huge. We're talking about walking without braces after dealing with this for years.
Yeah.
Must have been incredible.
Total mix of emotions, excitement, but probably some nerves too, right?
Definitely. And the timing is wild. The first surgery happens just 2 days after high school graduation.
Talk about a graduation present.
Right. What a way to start a new chapter.
Like literally closing one book and opening another.
Yeah, exactly. So high school's over, and it's time for this physical transformation. The first surgery is on the right foot.
And this wasn't a simple fix. We're talking years of trauma, skin grafts, braces. It was a lot.
Yeah, the author describes these surgeries as the most intense things they'd ever experienced.
Makes sense. Not just the physical pain, but the recovery too.
Right, it's a long road.
And then there's the mental and emotional aspect. To finally move freely after all this time.
That's a huge shift.
Oh, totally.
And it wasn't a one and done thing either. The second surgery for the left foot was 6 months later.
Talk about needing patience.
6 months of buildup, though, right?
Yeah.
Knowing that second surgery was the key to the whole thing.
I know. I'm kind of bummed this chapter doesn't really go into the surgeries themselves or like the recovery.
Right.
It would have been amazing to hear about that.
Yeah, but remember, this chapter is really about what leads up to the surgery, that medical mystery, getting off the steroids, the mental prep.
That's true. It's more about the inner journey leading up to it.
Exactly. But even without all the details, we can still imagine what it must have been like. Learning to walk again, rebuilding strength,
Yeah.
managing pain.
Oh,
It
yeah.
had to be intense,
Both physically and emotionally.
for sure. Probably some good days and bad days mixed in there.
I bet. And the author support system must have been so important. Absolutely. Family, friends, the medical team, they all played a part.
It reminds you that healing isn't a solo thing. You need people.
We all do, whether it's a physical challenge or something else.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so we've got this incredible story of resilience and transformation. But what's the bigger picture here? What can we learn from this?
I think it reminds us that we're capable of overcoming huge challenges, that we can adapt and heal and find ways to thrive even when things are tough.
Like, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Exactly. And not just physically, but mentally and emotionally too.
Yeah, and I think it also shows how important it is to be involved in your own health care.
Oh, absolutely. Don't just sit back and take orders. Ask questions, understand your options, stand up for yourself.
You are your own best advocate, right?
You know your body better than anyone else.
Yeah.
And you have a right to be a part of the decisions being made.
And it's not about being difficult or distrusting doctors. It's about communication and working together to find the best solution.
A true partnership.
And the author's story also shows how important it is to trust your gut. They felt something wasn't right about the steroids, and they spoke up.
And it worked out for the best.
It did. It shows that sometimes your intuition can lead you in the right direction when it comes to your health.
That inner wisdom.
Yeah. So don't be afraid to ask questions or get a second opinion if you need to. You have to be your own advocate.
100%. Your health is your responsibility.
So to wrap up this part, I think we can say that the author's journey was super tough, but it led to amazing transformation. Not just physically, but in how they saw themselves and their ability to handle these medical challenges.
It really shows that even in the face of adversity, there's always hope and potential for growth and healing.
So inspiring.
Definitely. And it encourages all of us to be more active in taking care of ourselves.
All right. So for the last part of our deep dive, we're going to shift gears a bit. We're going to look at some of the bigger questions this story brings up. Like, what does this tell us about healing in general?
Yeah.
About what we do and don't know about the human body, and about the power of the human spirit?
Lots to unpack there.
It's amazing, right? Like, this one chapter packs in so much. Physical challenges, medical mysteries, personal triumphs. It's like it all comes together.
Yeah, it's kind of like a mini version of life itself.
I know, right? Full of twists and turns and doubts, and then those moments where you see just how resilient people can be.
Exactly.
And the thing that really stands out to me is how the author kind of flips the script on that whole doctor-patient thing. They're not just passively going along with everything they're told.
Right.
They're asking questions, doing their research, and in the end, making the choices that feel right for them.
Patient empowerment at its finest.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something we can all learn from, whether it's a big medical thing or just everyday health choices.
Yeah, for sure. It's about understanding that we know our own bodies best
Absolutely.
and that we have a right to be a part of those decisions.
You're not just a passenger.
Exactly. It's not about being confrontational. It's about being informed and proactive.
And finding those healthcare providers who get that,
Yeah,
who are willing to listen and work with you.
that's key. The author's story also shows how important it is to trust your gut.
Oh, yeah.
They had that feeling about the steroids, you know, that something wasn't right. And they were brave enough to challenge that.
And it led them to a better place.
It did. It's like sometimes your intuition knows what's up when it comes to your health.
It's powerful stuff.
So yeah, don't be afraid to question things or get a second opinion. You got to be your own advocate.
For sure. Nobody's going to care about your health as much as you do.
All right, so to wrap up this deep dive, let's leave our listeners with something to think about.
Okay, sounds good.
How about this? How much do we really understand about the human body's ability to heal? And what could we achieve if we looked at health in a more holistic way? You know, mind, body, spirit, all connected.
That's a great question. Something for us all to ponder as we navigate our own health journeys.
It is. Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.